I'm Tom Lord-Alge, and we're here in Spank Studios in Florida, and I'm here with IK Multimedia. Today we're going to talk about the T-RackS mixing and mastering plugins, modeled after some of the most impressive pieces of studio equipment, and actually pieces that we use on a daily basis. They've done a great job at modeling it, and we're going to walk through some of the plugins and maybe some of the starting points that I use in my mixing. For drums, and bass drum in particular, let's start with the bass drum. I always like to start with something that I'm familiar with, and with the plugins, I found that I can get the sound that I'm looking for quickest and easiest by using a plugin I'm very familiar with. So again, we're going to start with the British Channel. British Channel modeled after the SSL 4000. Typically a good starting point for me. I mean, the first thing I normally do is going to be suck out, on a tight curve, roughly around between 400 and 500 cycles to get some of the basketball sound out, and some of that boxiness out, and then I like to add, on a tight curve, I like to add about 1K or 1.2K to put a nice little mid-range knock into the bass drum. And then again, on the top end, depending on the tuning, it's going to be roughly, anywhere from 5 to 8K, to add some nice click. And then on the bottom end, depending on the tuning, is going to be a tight bell curve, and again, anywhere between 60 and 80 cycles to give it the nice thump. So now for the snare drum, again, I'm going to use the British Channel for equalization, little top end, between 5 and 7K, a little low mid bottom end, roughly around 125, maybe 150, depending on the tuning of the snare drum. Good starting point. And then I'm going to try the limiter that's in that plugin, but more than likely, I'm going to go over to the precision limiter, which is modeled after the Neve 33609. On the IK Multimedia plugin, that one is brilliant. So, and my trick on that is I turn the compressor section off on that, and I just use the limiter section, and I use it on fast attack. And if you need to get fast attack and quick release, there's a fast attack button. It's either fast or slow, and then on the release time, I put it to the quickest one that there is. And to get more compression out of that, just turn the gain up. That's a great feature that IK added to their plugin that the original didn't have. On the original, you used to have to use the compressor setting, the gain button to do it. But on the IK, you don't have to. It's brilliant. That really makes the snare drum come alive. Now, sometimes you end up with a tad bit more transients on that, and then I'd put a saturation plugin after that. With the toms, again, I'm going to go back to the British Channel, for my rough end EQ. So, and on those, the compressors are really good, and they have a button that's called hard. And you hit that button, and it makes it really aggressive. So again, it's a great starting point, and again, the toms are going to be, I like my tom-toms to sound like tuned bass drums. So, depending on the tuning of each drum, it's going to be maybe 4 or 5 dB at a tight bell curve on the bottom end, and anywhere from 125 down to 50 or 60 cycles, depending on the tuning of the tom-toms for the bottom end. And then again, on that, I try not to add too much of top end. I like to add the upper mid range. So that's going to be maybe 4 or 5 dB, at anywhere from 3K, up to 5K. And usually at a wide curve, so that it opens it up a little bit. It'll give a little bit of the attack. And as far as compression, yeah, you've got that hard button. Try that. Works great on the tom-toms. Yeah, and overhead mics, again, why not? Let's stick with what's working here. You know, you see a theme that I'm using here, so stick with what the plugins that you use, okay? So I can only tell you the ones that I use. So the British channel, here we go. Let's go. Because we've already used it. We're so familiar with it. Again, so on the overheads, depending on the recording, we could be adding a lot of top end. So again, I try to add 10K, maybe I go a little bit higher than that, but I could be adding upwards of 5 or 10 dB, depending on the recording. And again, on the overheads, I'm usually pulling out some 300, and pulling out some of the boxiness. So I'm looking to get a nice sheen on the cymbals, nice openness on the cymbals, and remove a lot of that snare drum that's in there, because normally, depending on the drum set, the snare drum that's in there is usually really boxy sounding. So again, you kind of have to, you know, it's a compromise to get the whole kit. So you kind of got to listen to it with the whole kit. But you listen to it solo first, get the top end right, and then put it in there. And if you need to pull the 300 out, then do that. And again, you got a phase button there, so check the phase. You know what I mean? Put your drum set in solo and check the phase, and whichever way gives the snare more impact, that's the way to go.